Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Jana, for invitation for this nice event. So before the Christmas, this is the right time to talk about the semiconductors, I think. And I would like to give you some, let's say, overview, very brief. So what the Czech National Semiconductor Cluster is doing, what are the activities, and how we are aligned with the, for instance, with the chip geo activities for the semiconductors, what is in our focus, and where we are moving. So let me also start with the first slides that I cannot omit to mention some kind of the patriot of the Brno and also the Zlín that we have in the CHIPS Act, the expression of first of its kind. So we can say that the generative AI for the embedded systems was developed here in Brno, and it was in 1997. Yeah, so it was really brief enter to this area, and this system has knowledge about 1,200 MCU architectures, including the peripheral registers and sequences, and also introduced the first hardware abstraction layers. So users at the end were not expected that they will have a lot of information about the need to learn about the MCU, but they was capable very quickly to utilize the generated source code out of the tool and directly include it to their application. So it speeds up a lot the development of the embedded system. So you see some kind of the videos, part of them are coming from are introducing the location of the Brno, and second video is introducing the principles of the processor expert tool as the, let's say, first generative AI for the embedded systems. So it was necessary to mention that there's already some kind of the priority in our location. So I think this is new information for our guests, for Yves and so on. Okay, so let's go to the focus of the Czech semiconductor cluster. So the cluster is already focused to the semiconductor value chain, and so we are operating, as we already mentioned, from the Czech Silicon Valley. So that's the area where we are, and plus the region Zlín, and the focus to this area is very important in order to concentrate the whole knowledge in Czech Republic, which is connected to the semiconductor value chain. If we are talking about some parameters of the area, so typically, if we are talking with our colleagues from the Silicon Saxony, so they have some kind of the parameters on the table. So let's say production of the wafers per year. So we could talk about 3 million of the polished and API semiconductor substrates. There is more than 3 billion chips produced in the area. So that's basically a little bit more than currently in Saxony before the establishment of the new fabs in Saxony. And this is, let's say, we are talking about the analog parts, the power electronics, power chips, and so on. Of course, it's necessary to mention also the electron microscopy here, so that each third electron microscope in the world is produced in Brno. There is a green space, more than 50,000 square meters, and we already have the vendors of the clean room technology on board. Regarding the R&D and educational institutes, there's more than 10, so this is just mentioning which have some relation to the semiconductor value chain. There are already the fabs in the location. We could already mention the several of them. Let's say Great Peril is onsemi semiconductor in Rožnov. There is a very significant European contributor for the RISC-V for the fabless, and this is company Kodasip, which is key player, also and cooperating with the European Commission, DG Connect, for the priorities like the design platform as well. And so the IP is currently in more than 3 billion of the chips worldwide, and they have already developed their own ADA cloud tool and configuration of the RISC-V computers, and they are very strong in customization of the RISC-V. So we could also, let's say, mention some raw number of the employees in semiconductor value chains. So there's more than 9,000. And there is already great experience for the manufacturing of the front-end semiconductors equipment from this area. So you see a little bit more the competencies and alignments of the cluster. So that we have the many alignments, not only in Czech Republic in connection with the government, with the leading companies, but also outside of the cluster. Outside of the Czech Republic. We are a proud member of the Silicon Europe, so which is the organization of the big, I think that we could say this is the top technology network in the world, and this is also the significant partner for the ESRA, so the Semiconductor Regions Alliance, which was established from the Saxony government, and Silicon Europe represents more than 2,000 clusters from European countries, and represents more than 400,000 of all the jobs in high tech. So basically, all the significant European companies are member of these clusters, network of the clusters, and we are cooperating on weekly basis to synchronize with all the activities together with our cluster as well. So competencies of the cluster. So we are focused to the R&D, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, materials, IP design, EDA tools, RISC-V ecosystem and customization, FPGA IP, fabless IP, electron microscopy, semiconductor manufacturing technologies, power electronics, education for the silicon value chain, and of course we are aligned with the trend-setting end users. For instance, the Volkswagen, Škoda Auto, which are already defined the trends for the semiconductors, and they are creating the demand. So which we need to respond with the deliveries. Okay. So as I promised, I would like to already mention how we are aligned with currently efforts coming from the CHIPS JU. So that was really, I would like to thanks again to Yves, to the work of the Commission, so which we already have the possibility to visit in Brussels in all the sessions. So what we see from CHIPS JU, I think that will be already mentioned here a little bit more. So the planning course, the design platform, competence centers, pilot lines, and we are also already focused to the future AI-assisted methods and tools for the ECS engineering efficiency. That has a very good connection with the experience we already have, as I mentioned at the beginning. Then there's a very interesting, let's say, a movement for the R&D, for the vehicle of the future, the holistic technology stack. So which is connected with the hardware abstraction layer and those activities. Okay, so we already submitted at the national levels proposals for the 2 pilot lines, and I'm just only mentioning here because we know that currently the first, I think it was already started the first wave of the pilot lines. So there is expected second wave of the lines. So we believe that also Czech Republic will be capable to be connected to this wave. And so let me close my short presentation with, let's say, what the Czech National Semiconductor Cluster could do for you. So it's basically your partner for the semiconductor value chain. And so the relationships which we have in the EU and also in the Taiwan. So this is the excellent base for the new projects and business developments. You could easily verify your ideas because of our big network and find out the partners for the project, find out the inspiration as well. So it's a great help for the start. For the regions, so that's a very important move under the CHIPS Act. This ESRA, and for the ESRA, the Silicon Europe will be key partner. So we could help as well for the regions, not only Czech regions, but we are cooperating also with the regions in Europe, as I said in before. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stanislav. Thank you, Jana. Okay, so I'm Yves Gigase. I'm the head of programs of the CHIPS Joint Undertaking. And the CHIPS Joint Undertaking and the CHIPS Act actually were signed on the 21st of September, so we're very, very new. In terms of the CHIPS Joint Undertaking, I first would like to very briefly introduce you know, where it comes from. And basically, back, I would say, COVID times, there were a number of worrying signs, I would say. Worrying signs in the sense that there was a shortage of semiconductor chips. There was also a concern regarding the security of supply and some effects across the industry. I mean, no chips, basically no car manufacturing, and that was a big worry for example, Germany. So Europe needed a CHIPS Act, or at least trying to put something together. I'm saying trying because it's not been an easy story. It took more than 2 years to get our act together, and the purpose was essentially put here below, and it's to strengthen the research and technology leadership, to build and reinforce their own capacity, put in place an adequate framework to increase the production of chips in Europe, and importantly also addressing the skills shortage and develop an in-depth understanding of the global semiconductor supply chain. So this was translated in basically 3 pillars. I'm sorry, the contrast is not too good, but so the pillar on the right is what we call pillar 1, and that's the Chips for Europe initiative, the initiative as we call it. And the initiative basically gives you, by the way, make sure that the slides are available. So if you want to distribute them to the participants, no problem. So the Chips for Europe initiative basically is where the CHIPS Joint Undertaking is under. But there is another part there. There is also a support to SMEs, and I'll say a word about that. And then you have the very large pillar 2, and that's what has to address the security of supply. Now, the security of supply means that we're going to see and make sure that we have sufficient supply capacity here in Europe. I'll say a word about that. The third pillar is more of interest to the national authorities. It's about how you can make sure that you can develop, rational actions in order to address, the supply of chips. I'll say a brief word about that. Now, regarding the CHIPS Fund, and this is, the CHIPS Fund is really in our pillar, but it's not the CHIPS Joint Undertaking. There are 2 actions. There is the EIC Accelerator, and I think we'll hear something about that today. Now, the EIC Accelerator, EIC stands for the European Innovation Council, has put 300 million on the side, and these 300 million will translate in 900 million to the partners. And this will be a funding to startups, essentially SMEs, to basically, help them in, help them bridging the gap between R&D and market take-up. And this will be going through grants, equity, and blended financing. So again, I put, on the top right, good to know, but it's not in the CHIPS Joint Undertaking. It's not my business, and I think we'll hear more about that later on. And then there is also the InvestEU. The InvestEU has put aside, that's run by the European Innovation Bank, the EIB, and that has put aside 125 million, which will translate in hopefully 10 times more, 1.25 billion with partners. And that is really more in-depth an equity program, which will, be used to finance production in small and medium enterprises. So these are 2, extra topics that you can always get information through, and I'm pretty sure that there's a number of very competent people here in this room that know more about these. So if you're a startup and as a SME, think about these programs in the first place, okay? Then the second pillar is about security of supply. And here, was already mentioned briefly, this is about first of a kind. And the idea here is that if you really have something, that is worthwhile to be funded, can be defined as a first of a kind manufacturing facility, because we're talking here really about manufacturing facility, then you can profit from a number of advantages, beneficial treatment of administrative applications, priority access to the pilot lines that are run by the chips joint undertaking, etc. And that should help you to basically speed up, your building, your conception of a manufacturing site. There's a number of very large companies that have already started using this, or that are, have announced some investments. So we see here a couple of them. Right. And then we're coming to the third pillar, and the third pillar really is only for the national authorities. So again, it's good to know that that exists, but it's not in the chips joint undertaking. And this is more about understanding, the evolution of the world conditions in terms of chips manufacturing. Okay. And why is that important? Well, if you want to make rational decisions and think about, the whole COVID situation, where you needed to understand, what kind of vaccines and when these vaccines would need to be put up on the market, and how you get access to these vaccines. Well, there also, if we have again in the future, a serious problem with the delivery of chips, then we being, the national authorities, then they need to know how to make rational decisions regarding that. Where are we going to get, chips if, for example, Taiwan, and I'm just naming one of them, one of the hotspots, if Taiwan, for example, does not produce any chips any longer. How are we going to solve that problem? Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. It's in actually the work program 2024. But we are also, and I'm not talking about the chips joint undertaking, we're also going to look a bit more about international cooperation. It links a bit to what I said before with the third pillar, but this is inside the chips joint undertaking. We're starting, for example, in 2024, a joint call with Korea, okay? And we'll hope to attract European partners and Korean partners. It's very small, 6 million. And as I said, I won't say too much. You can have the details in the work program, because it's not easy. Let's be very clear. It's about neuromorphic, that we would like to do something, and about heterogeneous integration. But this is really a first call to bring together these two communities, our community, their community, and to see what can be, worked on, basically. And hopefully, we'll do the same thing with, for example, Japan, the United States. Canada is becoming an associated country, so it will be possible to work directly through that. But there are other countries, India, Brazil. And so basically, we're over the years, we'll start to become hopefully a bit more international, and hopefully there will be more consequent international calls for cooperation. Now, I started working at ENIAC, then at Excel, then at KDT, now at Chips Joint Undertaking. KDT was essentially, a joint undertaking with a number of very general objectives, and essentially it was about reinforcing the EU strategic autonomy in electronic components and applications, meaning making sure that the community had the opportunity to work together on these type of topics. With the name change from KDT to the Chips Joint Undertaking, we got basically, a number of extra additional tasks. And this is about pilot lines, design platform, competence centers, and a quantum chips technology. And we're not sure, we have to define it as a pilot line, pilot lines, maybe plural, but there's more to be done there than just pilot lines. This will be supported both by Horizon Europe and the Digital Europe program, and the budget increases from 1.8 billion to 4.175 billion EU funding, but there is of course also, as it was for the previous joint undertaking, an additional national contribution there. We're working, as you see, with most of the, if not all of the member states, also a number of associated countries like Norway and Iceland, a number of associated countries outside of, I would say, the EU, like Israel and Turkey, and recently, as of 2024, also with the UK. The UK has become, or is, going to become an associated country, and as of 2024, we will be able to have UK partners in our program. I mentioned before, Canada also. I don't think it will be for 2024, but it's going to happen also there. Now, the budget of the CHIPS joint undertaking is a bit complex, I would say. Start with the left side. So let me walk over there. You have the CHIPS EU activities. These are being split into, on the left side, the activities not covered under the CHIPS for Europe initiative, and the activities for Europe, and the activities covered by the Europe initiative activities, and the not covered, I would say, the non-initiative, as we will call them, are mostly R&I activities, while the initiative R&I and capacity building. That's one thing you have to keep in mind. Our work program becomes quite complex because of that. So you will see that there is an initiative part and a non-initiative part. Then you have to see, okay, what is in for the initiative part? For the initiative part, we have, this column here. And this column tells you that we have 1.425 billion euros from Horizon Europe for R&I activities, and for capacity building, which is the Digital Euro program, we have nearly the same amount, adding up to 2.875 billion euros. Capacity building is essentially investment in equipment and investment in activities that are not R&I. And then you have, for the non-initiative, you have 1.3 billion euro. And, then you have the totals, okay? And then you go up, needs to be matched more or less with, what the member states can bring in and what the industry can bring in. So the green is what the member state could bring in. I have to be a bit careful there. They probably will not be able to match completely, but at least they will match as good as they can. And the red amount, 2.5 billion euro, is what the industry will bring in. And so we get a total of 11 billion. Now, how is this going to be used? Well, the non-initiative part, so again, the non-initiative part is this part here, is this amount, 1.3 billion. That is essentially what we have always been doing. This is, what we've been doing under ENIAC, under Excel, under KDT, okay? So these are the R&I projects on, a whole bunch of topics, and the Czech participants have, over the years participated quite a lot in this program, so I think you know about that. I'll mention something, though, about 2024 and at the end of this presentation. Then what about, the initiative part? Well, we heard about pilot lines and competence centers and design platform. And this is a kind of schematic that, people of the Commission like to use, and I've adapted a little bit, but nevertheless, it's, the same. At the core of the initiative part, you have the pilot lines. The pilot lines are, big investments in in consortia that are going to invest in equipment. They're going to build infrastructure, if you say, okay? They're going to be pilot lines that consist of new equipment, new processes, and they will be able to offer a kind of service to the rest of the community, okay? You also have, of course, the existing pilot lines. These are not really in the initiative, but they still exist, of course. And, in order to use these pilot lines, you will have a design platform. And this design platform will allow you to produce designs that then can be, matched on some of the pilot lines or on pilot lines outside of this, of course. You can, you will be able, with the design platform, to make designs that then can be produced at TSMC, for example. And then you have the competence centers up there. And the competence centers are, will be institutes, and there will be more or less one per country. And those will be basically your gateway, the way to get into these pilot lines in this design platform will really be through your competence centers. If you have questions, you'll go to your competence centers, you'll ask these questions, you'll make sure that, you understand how to get in, how to, etc. Okay? So there'll be, these competence centers, one per country, will basically be, spread all over Europe and will network. There's a special call also to make sure that these competence centers will network. we would like to have for each competence centers a kind of specialty. There will be one competence centers that will be especially helpful for I don't know, design for RF components, for example, right? Design for RF components might be somewhere in Spain. Why not? Might be the competence centers of Spain. And that if you as a Czech participant would like are interested in that and would like to know more, you'll go to your competence center, and that competence center will put you in contact with the competence center on RF, and they will help you further. They might help you, understanding what tools are available, etc. I'll say more about that. I see some people looking at their watch. I'll try to speed up a little here. Anyway, so we have then, these the pilot lines then will help to, provide support to what is being done. For example, in the non-initiative, you'll be able to work on a certain design, make them on your pilot line, and then use that in a non-initiative call, for example. And then, of course, we'd like to have technology transfer. These pilot lines will basically develop new technologies, and these new technologies will be of use to anyone who would like to, fabricate them here in Europe. Very shortly, because of time, okay, no, but nevertheless, I don't want to drag it too long. Very, very briefly, let me put it this way. Something that it's not stressed enough, I believe. Of course, we would like to make sure that semiconductors are made here in Europe and chips, etc., etc. The problem is a bit that we're at the moment of I would call that a revolution. Okay, a revolution in the way you conceive chips, in the way you conceive transistors, which has very big implications on circuit design, which has very big implications on systems that you can make. For those of you who are familiar to chip design, I guess that's most of you. We have, of course, the more and more, making things smaller and smaller, and this has been, the dogma for the last 40 years, right? I mean, I don't know. You started at several hundred microns, and slowly you got smaller and smaller. But it was always the same kind of CMOS technology. It's always planar, and the difficulties were more in making sure, that you get these, these smaller components connected, for example. So you got the whole, metallic layer that you had to build on top of that in order to connect these ever larger becoming chips. You also had to look at reliability. You also had to look, etc. Okay, so basically more, and the developments were, I would really say, same stuff, but at a smaller scale. And I think as of 10 nanometer, we're really beyond more. Beyond more is really about is for me really a revolution that we're starting, and it's nice to it's nice to reflect on that, because again, we've heard about, and this is, I'm not going to go into the details of this slide, and by the way, it comes from the IRDS roadmap 2022. But we started working in 3D when we went to the FinFET. But now we're slowly moving to, these gate-all-arounds and CFET and the 3D VLSI. We're starting to stack things in height. We're starting to use, new metallizations and stuff like that. And obviously, extreme UV is one of the tools that you need in order to realize that. Extreme UV made by ASML, which is, I would say, the favorite example for, at least for people of the Commission, when they want to explain how new, all this stuff is. But you have a whole bunch of companies here in Europe that have contributed to some of these essential steps. And for example, when you talk about the oxide layer, we're thinking about Soitec, okay? But when we talk about epitaxy, we're thinking about Extron and ASM. etc., etc. So we have a whole bunch of equipment manufacturers that have contributed to this, and this is going to, continue. The new designs. Look at what, for example, IMEC has done in terms of roadmap exercise. These new designs will lead also to, for example, stacking chips one on top of the other, for example, with interlayers and stuff like that. And so we need to really, this started with memory chips. I think Samsung was one of the first to commercialize that. But now we're really thinking about, stacking chips with, logic and memory. That will be the first. Logic on logic, logic on memory. I mean, these kind of compound stacks. But it'll be more than that. Now, another part that is really going to change the way we're talking about, chips and chip technology is what is happening on the RF side, on the analog side. Okay, yeah, sure enough, we know how to get to higher and higher power, up to a few giga, for example, and even there you start to use silicon germanium 3.5s, etc. Well, we know that. But how are you going to go all the way to what we need for 6G? And that's hundreds of gigahertz, terahertz, okay? And that's a whole new, again, this is a whole new way of thinking, not only in terms of materials, also in terms of packaging and what you can do with that. And so a whole bunch of challenges. I mentioned the analog part. In the analog, you also have power, for example. There's, of course, the whole thing about going to low power. There's the thing about going to wide bandgap and new device structures and things like that. And so we have, the use of silicon carbide, which is becoming, commercial. We have a number of factories here in Europe that are using them and making these power transistors, and we need more of that. But then you go to the next, materials, oxides and diamond and things like that. How far can you go there if you want? And then, of course, you have the whole photonics. The whole photonics has been, a world apart. They're using the same technologies, and yet, there's still no decent integration between the photonics components and the electronics components. And we need these photonics components in high-performance computers, for example. And we'll need them more and more in other applications. And so the question begs, that is, how do you integrate that? How do you stack photonics components on logic components and stuff like that? And then, and that's what the topic is upstairs, not upstairs, on top of the slide. So integration, heterogeneous integration, making sure that you stack, different types of chips and at different levels, okay? At the chip level first, but then also, stacking things that are, I'm trying to go to the next slide, stacking things like photonics and logic and things. So, in order to support these efforts, the call 2023 launched 4 pilot lines. Launched 4 pilot lines. One will tackle what I mentioned in the beginning. This is the pilot line on the advanced sub-2 nanometer leading edge system on chip technology. Okay, and that pilot line will essentially, work on what I would say the next generation beyond Moore, so gate-all-around architectures, and working and making sure that we understand the difficulties that we have. It's about extreme UV, but it's also about all the other technologies that you need in order to make these type of components. We hope that this pilot line will deliver, a facility for you to use on the on front edge or simple, I would say, 2 nanometers technology. Obviously, commercial 2 nanometer technology is becoming available, will become available through TSMC, for example. But we hope to have here in Europe some larger companies that will also make those. And obviously, we'll start to work towards, for example, lower than 2 nanometer technologies. Now, how, what is exactly this pilot line going to deliver. Don't expect, to make a complex, processor unit or something like that on there. Okay, that's not the purpose. The RTOs involved here will not have the possibility to, for example, make the very complex back and some complex metallizations that you need there. Okay, but what you will get from this here is, for example, the whole bunch of design guidelines in order to make 2-nanometer chips. The design guidelines in the beginning will be simple, but will become, more and more close to what you can have in manufacturing. So this should allow you basically to start preparing. If you're, for example, a company working in these type of technologies, this should allow you to start preparing designs in 2-nanometer and see how you can improve these designs. And keep in mind that, I talked about the revolution in the design of chips, but this is also a revolution in what you can, into the performances of these chips. So you can use the performances of these chips, which will be embedded in the designs that you're going to make, and be prepared for when these technologies will be available for manufacturing. You will also be able to make simple prototypes, okay? Simple prototypes to test some of your ideas. And I'm not talking only about, logic chips, but why not also other types of chips. On top of that, such a pilot line also has, a number of new technologies which you can use maybe at advantage in, for example, photonics and improved photonics devices. It's not because it's about sub-2 nanometer that some of the processes that are going to be developed, some of the CVD processes, edge processors, whatever, are not available for something other, like making, much better waveguides in some materials. Okay, so you have to think a bit broader than just the topic. That's one point. And if you're a company and you are delivering some of the equipment, you could also use this pilot line to, for example, improve your equipment. Okay, so there's a multitude of possibilities here. And that is also true for the other pilot lines. And the other pilot lines are maybe a bit closer to the market. Here we're talking about the SOI kind of thing. SOI is, what is being done by a company like Soitec. And these are, efficiently used in making RF circuitry, for example. In a big success, most of our mobile phones contain such an RF chip made using this technology. But this technology also will also be able to stack other types of materials one on top of the other and make wafers that are much more complex than just a silicon on insulator. And one would like to evolve the technology that you build on this silicon on insulator wave towards FinFET basically, and going beyond FinFET gate-all-around and these type of things. So it's targeting 7 nanometer. It's probably going by 2030 to 5 nanometer. And I have to. This technology also should help you in integrating analog and RF components, and so there's also a whole scheme on new types of memories, for example. So there's a bunch of things that technologies that are available on this pilot line. The third one is about advanced packaging and heterogeneous integration. I already mentioned several times that once you have made these circuits, you will have to, or you could, for example, think about innovative types of packaging. When we think about RF, when we think also about quantum, you might need cryogenic packages, for example. Okay, so another thing that could be done on this pilot line. And then you have all these other things that you need, photonics and power and whatever. Okay, so this pilot line will concentrate on these type of technologies. The fourth one and last one for this year is the wide bandgap materials, which are used in power devices. And here the idea is to go further with the silicon carbide and start looking at the new materials. So anyway, it's important to keep in mind what I said. These pilot lines have a focus, but can be used for a number of other things. They also will participate in the training and the skills development. A very important thing that is not considered a separate subject for the CHIPS joint undertaking, but on which we will work together with, other efforts in the by other parties. And then finally providing access. So that is something that will only happen once these pilot lines are there. Okay, it'll take a year, 2 years, 3 years maybe to get to the point where access can be provided. In the meantime, access can already maybe provided for equipment manufacturers, but the real access, making things on these pilot lines, of course, you need the equipment for that. Takes a year or two before you get the equipment up and running. And you also need to develop then the integrated processor that you want to furnish there. And so my guess is that, real access will only be available by 2026, 27. I mean, and that's really maybe already quite an ask. Yes, as I said, here a few, let's skip that over, but we launched the call. We hope to get, the grants and the procurements started by mid next year. And there's a whole bunch of paperwork that you need to do there. By the way, the consortia, will consist of a coordinator, of course, but will contain two types of partners. You'll have the hosting entities. Hosting entities have, basically a lab, and in that lab you'll install new equipment, and you'll, together with your equipment that you already have, of course, you will basically run processors on that, while other partners will participate to the pilot line, for example, doing measurement, but not really, be involved in the acquisition of new equipment. And these are, the 4 pilot lines with their budget. You have to double these budget because this is the EU part. So you get to quite sizable amounts. If you add all that up, you're at 1.6 billion euro, and double that, you're at 3.2 billion euro in overall investment. And so for 2024, we're preparing, the design platform, a call for the design platform, a call for more pilot lines. I put pilot line 5, but this could be 1 or 2 or 3 more pilot lines. Quantum chip technology. There we're probably are going to ask and that's already been presented to the public authority and to our governing board, but not adopted. So I can't give you the exact figures there until it's adopted. But a quantum chip will probably in the first step be more a preparation action. And then the competence centers, I'll say more about that. And of course, we have the non-initiative part. And the design platform itself will offer a number of services. It's not just about, you'll have access to, and you'll have to pay for that, that's for sure, but you'll have access to some of the leading edge types of software packages at a reduced price, because we're sharing that with a number of other participants, okay? So you'll have access to Cadence and whatever, Synopsys and the others. But you will also have access to the PDKs that are being developed on the new pilot lines. You will be able to make designs on SOI. You'll be able to make designs on 2 nanometer when they become available. There will also be packages on photonics, packages on, on packaging, for example. So a whole bunch of possibilities there. The design platform will also be involved in training exercises and so on. And there will be, also a support to make sure that you can prototype your design on some, through a multi-project wafer. The competence centers, as I said, will have a kind of specialization, but they will facilitate basically the access to the design platform, the pilot lines. And they'll also be there to support you when you want to do some technology transfer. And they will address the skills shortage And how that all is being done is still a bit under discussion, I would say. They will promote the CHIPS fund, so the EIC, what I said, and in general raise the awareness about all these services. Again, the competence centers will act as a network. And in terms of timeline there, we hope that the design platform is up and running somewhere in 2025, at least a very first sketch, okay? There will also be teams that help you with particular designs. There's a bunch of different actions that we plan there. The competence centers should be selected towards the end of 2024 and should start providing services in 2025, maybe a little earlier. And the pilot line, the further pilot line will be up in 2025. All this is still under discussion in the governing board, by the way. And regarding the non-initiative, well, again, we have, our usual RIA and IA call, the ones that you all know and have participated in. And then you will have a few focus topics. Now, the 5 focus topics that Stanislav mentioned have not all been retained in the governing board. There's only 3 that have been retained, the 2 on the software-defined vehicles, the one on RISC-V, which is more hardware-oriented, and the one on the service-oriented framework for software-defined vehicle, and then the one on sustainable and greener edge. Alas, the Edge AI dropped, was not adopted. But again, these are the focus topic, but you also have the general call, and you can always, introduce further actions in the general topic in the general call on Edge AI. We have more than one Edge AI, project there. And then you have, as I mentioned earlier, the international call with Korea, which is very small. And all these calls will be launched beginning of February. The PO phase will be somewhere, I think, end of April, end of May. So this is the project outline, and then the full project proposal in September. There is a brokerage event. There is a brokerage event on 21st of February in Brussels. You can go to the websites of the industry associations to get more information. And very ending. So, from 2014 to 2022, this is basically the portfolio of the Excel and first KDT calls. We had 125 calls. And we covered basically most of the, most of the topics that we had to cover, some more, some less. Czech participants were active in projects like AgrarSense on smart and digitized component and system for data-based agriculture and forestry, but also in AIQ Ready on artificial intelligence using quantum measured information, Altugan on affordable, smarter gallium nitride and silicon IC solutions, Archimedes on trusted lifetime in operation for a circular economy, on Econ, European ecosystem for growth, on Isolde, high performance, safe, secure, RISC-V, listen to future, and acoustic sensors, and also on Lollipop IoT, which deserves the prize of the most innovative name, long life power platform for Internet of Things, OPIVA, optimization of electric vehicle, and R-coded reliable power down for industrial drives. There is much more, as you see, and I really encourage you to, participate even more. I think, Czech Republic has decided to work, for example, more on AI. Mentioned that, they have, a first of a kind also. I think there is more there for you to do in terms of RISC-V, in terms of AI, for example, and I really encourage this community to participate to that. And that's for the non-initiative. And for the initiative, well, you'll have a competence center, and I think there is one in preparation, if I'm not mistaken. And this competence center, I think with, what you have here in terms of semiconductors will be very active, I suppose, and I hope. And so that will offer you, certainly for your design community, a number of facilities that you should really grab and so that we get for Europe a stronger design a stronger design community, especially in advanced technologies. Right. I would like to thank you, and I'm not sure there is a time for Q&A.
So good morning, everyone. From my side, I thank you very much for the invitation to the event. I will today present you a part of the Horizon Europe program that should be suitable for your projects to get funding from. It has been already mentioned here. It's the so-called EIC, or the European Innovation Council. You can see here on the slide on the right side, I hope, on the third column on the top. So this is where we are going to be. Just a short disclaimer before I start. The EIC work program, the main document for the calls for proposals, was supposed to be adopted and published last week, but due to some delays, it hasn't happened yet. So what I'm going to tell here about all the calls and conditions for the 2024 is still unofficial and may still be changed in theory. So this for the disclaimers. I will try to run quickly through the slides. There is more information that I'm able to present today, but it's so that you have all the information in the slides and you can use them later on. So the main instruments under the EIC are so-called the Pathfinder, the Transition, and the Accelerator, and they cover different stages of the, let's say, research and technology development. So the Pathfinder is still for, let's say, the initial stages of research. It covers the TRL from, let's say, 2 to 1 up to 3 or 4. Then we have the transition instrument for let's say, from the proof of concept to the pre-commercial stage, so up to, let's say, the TRL 5, and then the accelerator that is up to the, let's say, commercialization stage. Why is the EIC relevant for today and for your community? It's mostly because there is there are so-called open calls, which means they are bottom-up and there is no thematic restriction, so you can propose your ideas freely. But there are also so-called challenges. So there are specific topics, and these I will present later on, some of those that should be relevant for today's event. Also to mention here, there is a specific feature for the EIC, and those are so-called program managers. Those are experts that have been hired by the European Commission in specific strategic areas, and these are actually their objective, or their task is to design specific objectives for the different areas, and then they create from the supported project a so-called portfolio, and which they later on steer towards the objectives of their area. You can have a look at the website to see who these program managers are at the moment. So let's have a look at the Pathfinder instrument. I split the Pathfinder open and challenges because there are some differences that you should take into account. So the EIC Pathfinder generally is its objective is to actually support development of scientific basis to new breakthrough technologies, like future technologies. And as I mentioned before, it supports the earlier stages of technology, of research and technology development. It stresses a lot interdisciplinary approach, and also the research should actually aim not only, let's say, at the research results, but also at creating potential market opportunities. The Pathfinder Open is, open. However, it's thematically not restricted, but you still have to, or your proposal still have to respect 3 characteristics that are called gatekeepers, which means that really you need to fulfill these characteristics so that your proposal is suitable for Pathfinder and is, let's say, eligible. And these gatekeepers are then also reflected in the evaluation criteria of Pathfinder. So these are, the first one is a kind of long-term vision for the radically new technology. Then the second one focuses on the, let's say, the high ambition of the science towards the technology breakthrough. And the third one is more on the approach, that should be really high risk, but also potentially high gain from your research. And the outcome here expected is the proof of concept or proof of principle saying that let's say the principles of the technology are feasible. Or when it comes to the calls for next year, 2024, so the Pathfinder Open is the first one to have a deadline, and that is planned for the March 7. The call should be still open this year, maybe this week, maybe next week. We'll see. The EU contribution for Pathfinder Open is up to €3 million, and it's a so-called research and innovation action. So here you get 100% of your costs reimbursed, and it's regardless of what type of entity you are. So it applies on the research institutions as well as companies and so on. Here, it is the collaborative research is required, which means that you need a consortium of at least 3 partners from 3 different countries from the EU or from the so-called associated countries to the Horizon Europe. Here you can see the evaluation criteria. Your proposals will be evaluated in the 3 main criteria, like the excellence, impact, and the implementation, and they have different thresholds and different weightings, in the evaluation. So you really have to pay attention to this, because I don't know if you can see that, but for Pathfinder, there is a lot of stress on the really scientific excellence, where you have to you have a threshold of 4 points out of 5, and it has 60% weight in the overall score. So it's really focused on the scientific excellence. The application is, I would say, relatively short. It's up to 20 pages, and it's evaluated in 2 steps. First is remote, and then there is a sort of consensual meeting by the experts. For the Pathfinder Challenges call, the time schedule is a little bit different. It's going to be open later on next year, most likely in June, and with the deadline in October next year. Here the contribution is a bit higher. It's up to €4 million, and again it's a research and innovation action. But there is a difference in comparison to Pathfinder Open in the composition, or in the who can be the applicant. So here you can also apply as a single entity, apart from large companies who are not SMEs, or you can be a consortium of 2 partners, but from 2 different countries, or you can have the, let's say, standard consortium of the 3 partners from at least 3 different countries, or larger, of course. So here is the list of the challenges, the Pathfinder challenges that are now being planned for the next year. It's still, let's say, unofficial, but you can see there's a number of these challenges, and I selected one that is probably the most relevant for your community. I actually would like to also mention that due to the fact that the Pathfinder challenges is open later, there are always there are events like webinars dedicated to all different challenges, where there is also this program manager who is responsible for the challenge, and where you can take part to and hear more in depth what this topic is about. And they usually take place, these webinars, in the first part of the year, like let's say starting in February. And also for each of the challenges, there is a so-called challenge guide, which means there is a large document that also goes more into details of what is required from the proposals, but also from the portfolio. What are the objectives of the portfolio itself? So from these proposed challenges, there is one that is focused on the nanoelectronics for energy-efficient smart edge devices. I will not go too much into details of these topics. We were supposed to have intervention from the program manager herself, but unfortunately she's too busy today. So here are, let's say, the major objectives or features of this topic here on this slide. But you can of course read more about the topic in the work program, and then later on in the challenge guide. So the objective of this topic is to actually explore the solutions that will drastically decrease power consumption of the smart edge devices, specifically in the areas that you can see on the slide. And the proposed development may actually cover either the design level of the device, the materials or process levels, or the device or architecture levels. These are the, again, criteria that are evaluated under Pathfinder challenges. It's slightly similar to Pathfinder Open. Here the difference is that the application is slightly longer. It's up to 30 pages. And also the evaluation criteria themselves are slightly different, but the, let's say, the thresholds and the weightings in the overall evaluation is the same, like good for the Pathfinder Open. So there are a couple of other advantages, let's say, for the applicants and for the beneficiaries of the Pathfinder. I will mainly mention the EIC Booster Grant that you can receive once you are a successful beneficiary of Pathfinder, which is like extra boost, financial boost during the course of the project. It's a lump sum of €50,000 that you can use to explore other activities of the project. And also Pathfinder applicants are eligible for the EIC transition that I will mention a bit later on. Also, one thing that it's for the applicants to Pathfinder, it's a support by Vávra project. It's an international network of national contact points for the so-called widening countries, which the Czech Republic is one of. And you can use the support at the stage of the proposal preparation. You can use a pre-proposal or proposal pre-check that is for free. You will see find more information in the website where you have to register, and then you will be put in contact with an evaluator and receive a feedback on your proposal. Pathfinder is also a part of the so-called hop-on scheme, which is also, again, it's a part of the widening part of Horizon Europe, designed for the widening countries. And here, actually, it means that partners from these widening countries can actually join a consortia that have already been supported from Horizon Europe. Only consortia where there is none of these widening partners yet. So it's a possibility to already join a successful consortium, and it seems to be working relatively well. And the Pathfinder is actually one of the schemes where there are maybe most of proposals proposed. Also, there have been already 3 proposals, the Czech proposals that were successful. They successfully joined a Pathfinder project. So, coming now to the EIC transition. The transition is a bit step after, maybe, if I can say so, after the Pathfinder, and this scheme already supports not only, let's say, the innovation activities, but also the activities that explore different pathways to the market. So, as I said, it's between, let's say, TRL 3, 4 to 5 to 6. And then the expected outcome here is actually not only the technology, the demonstration of the technology, but also exploration of possible business models and the business plan. What's important here to mention is that for next year, only the open call is planned to be open. So not the challenges one. It's a bit, the transition scheme is a bit specific. So there are some things that you have to be careful about. Maybe the most important one is that in your transition proposal, you have to use a result of a project that has been already finished or that it's still ongoing. The result at the entrance stage of the project of the proposal must be at least at the TRL 3 or ideally at TRL 4. So results at other TRLs will not be eligible. And also on the slide, you can see all the projects that are the eligible ones, which means that from those projects you can get the results to be used for your transition project. So basically, it's the EIC Pathfinder, also in the different program or similar program that was running under Horizon 2020. Then the ERC proof of concept projects that were directly funded under Horizon 2020 in the, let's say, second and third pillar, and under Horizon Europe under the second pillar. and also are coming from the research projects supported by the European Defence Fund. So I said that in the transition or that the projects where the result comes from may be still ongoing or it can be finished. So this is something to pay attention to. For the ongoing projects, this one must be ongoing for at least 12 months from the beginning of the project until the cutoff of transition. Or for the finished project, it cannot be, let's say, older than 30 months. And you have to also pay special attention to the IP issues, depending on whether you were part of the previous project or not. So there are like two possibilities. The transition call will be, or it will have only one deadline next year. It should be open in April, and the deadline is planned for September 18. Here the contribution is between 500,000 and 2.5 million euros, still with 100% eligible costs that can be covered. And here there is also a recommended duration of the project between 1 to 3 years. And again, who can apply? You can be a single entity, again, unless you are a large company. You can be a consortium of 2 partners, again, from 2 different countries, or a consortium between 3 to 5 partners. So here you have to be careful that there is this upper limit of the 5 partners. And again, for these larger consortia, the standard Horizon Europe principles apply. There is a bit specific evaluation process for the transition. So in the first step, you have the remote evaluation as usual, but in the second step, you have a so-called interview where you have to present your proposal or your idea to a so-called EIC jury, where there are people who are specialists in, let's say, more technology part, but also there are many business people. So they will also ask you questions related to how you want to explore the business later on. And also, again, you can see the evaluation criteria with the thresholds that are also, let's say, relatively high for this scheme. Here, just a reminder why the transition proposals become ineligible quite often. Unfortunately, it's getting better. The scheme is relatively new. That's why probably the applicants get a bit confused. But thank God it's getting a little bit better. But again, I'm repeating what is maybe the most frequent errors committed by applicants, and that is that they really have to specify the project and reference it, the eligible project that you are using for your application. You also have to provide enough information about the results you are using, which means you have to really prove that it's a DTRL that is required. And also, it is necessary to really respect the requirements on the consortium composition and on the upper limits of the size of the consortium. Again, the transition beneficiaries can use the EIC booster grant, and they are eligible for the so-called fast track to the EIC accelerator, and also for the business acceleration services. But these are for all beneficiaries of the EIC instruments. Coming to the last one, the EIC accelerator. So this is a scheme or an instrument that is only dedicated to companies. So here it's only, well, it's SMEs that are, let's say, the largest focus group, let's say, of this instrument. Although even larger companies can apply to the EIC accelerator, but I will mention some let's say limits to this in some upcoming slides. Here the accelerator really is focused on companies that have some like breakthrough technology and innovation that can have important impact on the market, and it should be also an innovation that is based on some outcome, like a research outcomes, which means it's so-called deep tech innovation, and it's in need for a so-called patient capital because it's a bit too mature or too uncertain for the private investors to get in for this type of innovation. And again, accelerator has the open and the challenge is called just like the other instruments. So the applicants here are, as I said, mostly SMEs and startups from the member states or from the associated countries. It could be also so-called small mid-caps that are companies up to 500 employees. And there is also one option that is not being used, let's say, that much, but it's that the also like natural or legal entities may, under some conditions, apply on behalf of like companies that are supposed to be either created or moved to the EU or invested. It can be also an investor who can apply on behalf of the SME. So as to the funding, here you can get in terms of funding not just a grant, but also an investment. So there is what is used is so-called blended financing of the grant part of up to 2.5 million euros, and then the investment of up to 15 million euro. For different types of activities, just to mention, because it's important, with the grant you can only fund the activities up to TRL 8. From the equity, the investment component, you can fund the TRL 9 activities, but also the, let's say, innovation activities that are being also funded by the grant, because here is only 70% from the grant that is eligible. There is an option also to get only the grant, but then you'll be asked how you plan to fund the close-to-market commercialization stage activities. You can also, as an SME, get the equity part only, and the small mid-caps, the larger, let's say, companies, are only eligible for the equity component. So there is also, like, let's say briefly about the evaluation, the evaluation process, because there are like 3 steps. One is of the short proposal. The second one is a full proposal, where also those who are eligible for the fast track can apply to, so they can skip the step 1. And the accelerator also has the evaluation stage, that is the interview. So it's the third step. Third step is the interview with the EIC jury. The cutoffs or the deadlines that are being planned now for the EIC accelerator for next year are 2 in March 13, and then in October 3rd. And the challenges here that have been selected for next year are mentioned in the slides. From these, I selected 2 that are the most appropriate for you, for your community. And one is related to the virtual world and augmented interaction in the high-impact applications to support the Industry 5.0. And there is a list of areas that you can see that from the artificial intelligence via distributed ledger technology and also the digital twins. So the area is really of application is really large, and you can come with the innovations in all these areas. And then the second one that has been proposed by or it has been designed in cooperation with the ChipsGU is the enabling the smart edge and quantum technology components. That is actually it's divided into two subgroups or subparts. One dedicated to the enabling the smart edge, and the second one to the emerging quantum technology components. So I also put into the slide some practical aspects that might be like good for you to know. I will just run very quickly through them. I added something about the technology readiness level. What is this concept? Why is it being used? And how the descriptions of the different TRLs look like in Horizon Europe. Then there's a certain guidance and templates that you can use for at the application stage. There are of course different proposal forms and evaluation forms. There are the challenge guides for the EIC accelerator. There is also a guide for applicants. There is also an annotated pitch deck guide, and there is also a list of frequently asked questions. And of course, if you need any more support, you can approach us or have a look at our website of the National Contact Points, horizonteuropa.cz. Of course, at the website of the European Commission, the Funding and Tenders Opportunities portal, and of the EIC itself that falls under the ASMEA executive agency. So I would like to also mention here that there will be a European Information Day It's being organized on the 15th of January for all of the 3 instruments. It will be online, so you can just register and follow it. And you will find it in the website mentioned here. And in the same website, you will also find information of an information webinar about dedicated to the different accelerator challenges. So there, if you are interested in those topics, you will get more detailed information, and you will be also able to ask questions related to these different topics. And the same, I will repeat, will be for the Pathfinder challenges, but in different separate workshops that we'll still don't know when they are going to take place. So that's all from my side, and if there are any questions, I'm...
Hello, I'm Lenka, working as National Contact Point for Horizon Europe, Cluster 4, Digital Industry Space, and Cluster 3, Security Research. And we will stay in the second pillar, in the middle, in the place where clusters are. And I'm going to walk you through several topics, because the terminology, we don't speak in the detail, not about calls, but topics. And I would like to introduce you topics for 2024 mainly. Just a short summarization about the cluster projects. They are also of that collaborative type. It means more partners are needed, minimum 3 partners, each from different country. And one coordinator. Of course, the other partners, the consortia, are quite large, usually 10 partners, sometimes 15. And projects last for 3 years. That's the typical duration, sometimes less, sometimes more. Funding rates for non-profit organizations, always 100%. And for profit type of organizations, usually 70% of the EC funding is provided. The clusters are thematically given. You see, cluster 1 it is focused on health. And to be honest, I haven't found relevant semiconductor relevant calls for the upcoming year. There were a few partially relevant topics in this year, 2023. For example, there was the topic about virtual twins for disease management, or if there is other relevance, then it is usually in the sense of, for example, gathering data from different specific sensors or wearable electronics or medical health applications in mobile phones and so on. So as another comment, the calls for next period, 2025 and 27, are being prepared. So keep in contact with national contact points, because they can inform you what it will be prepared from the relevant areas. The same for second cluster, which is focused on on culture and creative industries. No microelectronics topics in the upcoming year. But here again, there were topics in the past. For example, 23 topic, one of them was about remote monitoring of monuments with the help of semiconductor sensors and photonics. Or there was also a topic on digital twins of cultural heritage artifacts in the past. Now we are in the cluster 3, which is focused on security research. Very many topics of different types. I have chosen for you the first topic, which is about post-quantum resistant cryptographic algorithms. Then the other topic is about security of hardware and software components, which might be relevant. Next topic is about detection devices for chemical, biological, radioactive and nuclear threats. If we move to the border management topics, and they are also going to be open many topics in the upcoming years, then here I would mention the technologies, the biometric identification technologies used at border crossings, and also there will be a topic open focused on digital identities management used in travel documents. As you see, the last topic is about resilience of critical infrastructures. So detection technologies are also in place here. This cluster 4 is going to be the crucial one for you. And here again, there are several sectors of the specific topics. On the first place, the smart photonic topics. This is the most relevant, and you see the deadline on the right bottom corner. You have always the information about the closing date for these calls. So it's the highest time to start with your proposal. Right, and the first topic is aimed at development of sensors for monitoring the quality of communication networks and photonic signals transmitted in networks. Meanwhile, the second topic, Photonics Innovation Factory for Europe. This is not about innovation and development, but rather about technology transfer. The already existing photonic technologies should be transferred from research and academic sectors to industry, to the end users in different areas, either to manufacturing industry or to health industries, to agriculture and so on. We have, as a third in line, we have the quantum sensing and metrology topic here. And what is wanted here, development of advanced prototypes of quantum sensing devices that should be miniaturized, transportable, and integratable. The next topic with the long name starting stimulating transnational research and development. It's again about quantum technologies, but this topic is a bit specific. One project will be funded, and some of you perhaps are aware of the successful co-funding program called Quantera. So Quantera is ending this year, and the project coming out of this call will be continuation of Quantera. The European Commission wants the key quantum communities to engage in this project. So in case you are the right partner, you can contact us and we can help you with the networking with the potential partners. Let's move to the open source topic, where should be developed such solutions that will enable the use of advanced processors in cloud and edge server systems. I always pick up one sentence, but in general, each of the topic, the projects which will come out of these topics are very complex, and what I mentioned is only part of the social solution, only part of the project activities. Yeah, it was a disclaimer that it's not just about that, what I say. That's why I don't write it there, because it would be misleading, kind of. Later on, in the second part of this event, we can discuss and I can introduce you these topics more in detail. I have the materials here with me. Right, let's have a look at the pilot lines for two-dimensional materials. This topic will, in this topic, the European Commission will fund one project, huge one, 33 million euros, and the goal is to create access to pilot lines which should incorporate 2D materials in the photonics and microelectronics. The budget for this project is so high also because there has been an existing European initiative, Graphene Flagship, maybe some of you know it. And again, this initiative is ending, and the winning project should keep running this initiative as well. Let's jump to the last line. That's the currently prepared topic about large AI models. This comes out in context with the generative AI, and it's not published yet, but it will be published soon. It's under preparation. I have also information here for you, and it's relevant also because of the HPC computing facilities and the potential participation of national HPC centers. Right, you see that cluster 4, it has three different parts. It has digital, industry, and space part. So from the industrial topics, I selected manufacturing as a service because then the digital twins wanted as one of the outputs of the projects. Second topic is focused on reducing waste in urban places and also reducing freshwater consumption. And here in this topic, it is mentioned that there should be development of special technologies, sensors, and so on used for waste sorting. Okay, then we move to digital transformation in steel industry. That's the 2 topics I have selected here, but there are more topics in the work program again. And what should projects deliver here? Besides other things, it should be novel sensors and models for real-time process control. The last row on this slide shows that digital twins are also going to be developed in the civil engineering field. And this topic is about having these digital models of civil engineering infrastructures in order to make it easier to repair these capacities and to maintain them. And here in space area, it has been already mentioned by Yves. The first topic is here to reduce the dependence on critical technologies from outside the EU. And technologies which are wanted here are the polarizer sources, microprocessors, photonic components, and tens of other components which we can discuss later on. Okay, there's the quantum space gravimetry crawl, phase BSC. As you see, there was already one phase this year. And the last topic, which is not publicly available, or I haven't found it, is focused on SST sensors and processing. The abbreviation, I have an explanation, but it's so long, so I can make you familiar with it later. Let's move to cluster 5, which also has 3 different fields: climate, energy, and transport. Starting with energy, we have here the power electronics topic, where, among other things, new semiconductor power device technologies should be developed. Then in this work program for 2024, there are low power photovoltaics topics, more ones. Then we have the high power cable systems and electric power trains, again more topics, differently specialized. What more we have the topic in the middle, beginning with AI, artificial intelligence testing and experimentation facilities. This topic is about development of physical and also virtual capacities for technology providers who would come and be able to test their advanced software and hardware components there in energy sector. These tests were funded from Digital Europe program earlier, and the TIFs are several one existing already for different sectors. So now we have it in energy. Right, let's move to the the other topic, which is focused on development of advanced software tools in SCADA systems. This is something which concerns renewable energy, and especially in this case, it is focused on wind farms. There are many more topics on the renewable energy in Cluster 5. Then we are in digital twins again, and in civil engineering and infrastructures in energy sectors, and that's the topic BIM-based processes. Digital twins should be developed for the facilities, buildings and infrastructure of energy sectors. There are many topics from intelligent transport systems. That's the CCAM technologies, connected automated mobility. So I have selected just 2 of them, where sensors and microelectronics is mentioned here. Okay, but there are many more. And last topic from Cluster 5, which might be partly relevant for you, is the solar thermal plants. Now we are in the last cluster. A few only partly relevant topics. One of them is digital for nature, where besides other things, project should focus on data harvesting through advanced methods using, for example, sound analysis, LIDAR, or spectrometry. Then I found a topic about invasive alien species, and here why I liked it. Yeah, there is also early detection with the help of sensors for biophysical signals, for example, sounds, ultrasounds, thermal signals, and so on. Then we have the water topics, digital twins of ocean, and also sensors for monitoring of water quality. And the last topic is about not only about electronics in robotics and augmented reality in the field of agriculture. My last slide with selected colors doesn't come from the clusters, but from the first pillar where research infrastructures have their own colors. And I have selected again digital twins of infrastructures, of existing infrastructures, which should be gradually incorporated in the digital model of Earth. That's the first topic. And the other one, again, augmented reality technologies in research infrastructure applications, so that new ways of experiments can be provided with the help of these technologies. All the work programs and details of the course are under the first link on this slide. Then European Commission organizes regular info days, so you can find recordings from these events and presentations. And if you don't want to look for anything and you want to directly ask, just contact us. We have national portal, as Michal mentioned, and we are here for you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak at this event. I'm sorry for a bit health indisposition, but I will try my best to present to you all about the Digital and Europe program. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation is divided into 3 parts. First part is devoted to the Digital Europe program as a new financial mechanism in the European Union, which supports digitalization. And the second part is devoted to the calls that they are planned for micro electronics, for chips and semiconductors. And the final part of my presentation is devoted to some important web pages or documents which are useful for you if you would like to apply for some projects within Digital Europe program. So I hope that you hear me well and everything is okay.
Yes.
So, yes, we can hear you. Okay, fine. So here you can see the main reasons why the Digital Europe program was designed in the European Union. This program is planned for 2021 to 2027. And it relates to the necessity to support digital ecosystem in the European Union, and also it supports the EU to be the leader in a digital area in the world. Also, it enables some of the investments, funding for small and medium enterprises, and also for large enterprises as well as academic institutions and other entities within the EU. So this Digital Europe program also addresses some social economic challenges. Now the main also topic which the Digital Europe program deals with is also digital and environmental transition, so-called TWIB, digital energy transition, and also it looks also and now at the deployment of chips within the EU. So this is 6 main areas where Digital Europe program looks at. And now you can see the allocations within the budget of the Digital Europe program. So this budget was laid down in the regulation of Digital Europe program in 2021. So there are some changes during recent years, but you can see from this slide that the majority of money is going to the supercomputers, and second most funded area. If I finish here, just you can see the budget for Digital Europe program for these 7 years, and of course during the last years there were a lot of negotiations also due to the new legislations in the EU regarding AI Act and regarding of course CHIPS Act. So there was some money from Digital Europe program which were allocated to the development of chips. So there were very rough negotiations, and so now also semiconductors belongs to priorities of budget within the Digital Europe program. So now you can see the slide where there are main key areas of the Digital Europe program, and first is also very well supported by the European Union, which is high performance computing, so supercomputers, and this activity is implemented by joint undertaking of Euro HPC. Then we have artificial intelligence, where are special and important testing and experimentation of capacities of the artificial intelligence in each main regions of the European Union settled. Then we have, of course, cybersecurity, which belongs to the priority of the EU, also national priority of the Czech Republic. So these are also programs which deals with skills supporting cybersecurity, and also some main competence centers which deals with cybersecurity in the EU and member states. Then we have advanced digital skills, which are also important for you because there are some calls which are related to the skills in semiconductors, as the European Union is still lag behind the rest of the world regarding ICT specialists in semiconductors. So this thing should be solved in the future. Then you can see that all these main technologies or areas of digitalization also support the sectoral activities within sector, like such as the cultural sector, such as research and innovation and manufacturing. Also, there is important to highlight that there are special European digital innovation hubs in the EU, which were already established. In the Czech Republic, we have 6 digital innovation hubs, and they provide services to enterprises and help them to innovate in the area of digital economy. So these are main areas of Digital Europe program. And now there is something more practical for you. As Lenka Švejcarová presented you Horizon Europe program, it's necessary to say the Digital Europe program is not focusing on research and development, of course, but it focuses on innovation, the deployment of innovation and technologies into practice. So even though there are some similarities regarding Horizon Europe, because there are some same, how would say, the working documents for Digital Europe program as in Horizon Europe, there are also the same documents which describe the calls. The Digital Europe program has also the same description of costs in the projects, and also there are some manuals that they are somehow similar to Horizon Europe goals. But funding scheme is concentrated on 3 main activities, such as grants. There are simple grants. These grants are usually 50% co-funded by Digital Europe program. The rest, 50%, should be financed by the member states, or it can be also financed from the structural funds or IRF, so Resilience and Recovery Fund. Then there are some special coordinated activities of the Digital Europe program, which are covered fully by the European Union. For example, now is developing special system mechanism, institution of national contact points within the European Union, which is fully covered by Digital Europe program. And then there are also procurements within the Digital Europe program. What is very welcome by the member states is that small and medium enterprises have much more larger co-finances percentage. They can receive 75% of Digital Europe program support. So this support, as you can see in this slide, is very diverse. So you can see the possibilities where the funding is going. So from the special testing facilities, for example, so for skills, there are some special academies that will be established within the European Union. Also, there are some special support for implementation of legislation of the European Union. Each, I would say, each activity within the Digital Europe program have a special context, which is very precise, explained all the things that you need if you want to apply within the call, and it's necessary to study it very hard before you apply for the special call in the future. What is necessary also to highlight here is that mainly legal entities are able to apply for the calls, and these entities are also can be, of course, enterprises, but also academic institutions and other actors within the European digital ecosystem. This Digital Europe program also has a special governing body, which is called the Steering Committee, and this is governed by the European Commission, and there are also, of course, representatives from the member states, and this governing body adapted for every 2-year special working program, and now we have 3 working programs, and for you is a very important main working program for 2023 to 2024. This working program is still not yet published. It was published this March, one main working program, but now it was a bit reformulated, and there were some priorities which should be more highlighted due to recent developments. So about 2 weeks ago, we adopted this working program for this year and next year. However, it wasn't still published. So when it will be published, we can of course share it with you. But now I can only present you some new information from this program, so that of course there are still these 3 areas that they are supported. Also, there are new chips activities. They are more supported with this working program, like Chips Fund, and strengthening the competencies for microelectronics. So you can see the budget at this slide, and also the implementation modes, that they are the same as I already said. So they are grants, procurements, and for this work program, there are 4 goals planned. And you can see that there are also procurements that will be also open for the interesting parties who would like to apply for procurement within these areas. And as I mentioned, you can see that the Chips Fund was incorporated in this working program of Digital Europe, and there is now estimated that for 2 years there will be 65 million euro to be allocated for this Chips Fund, which will enable access to finance and equity to small and medium enterprises, and to startups and scale-ups in the European Union. And now I have looked into the special database, which is accessible for all. It's standards and funding portal of the European Commission, and there you can find for now five calls that are designed for chips. So these calls are going to be open next year in February. And at the webpage, there is said that all information regarding the calls are incorporated in the joint undertaking chips and working program 2023. But I cannot access to this program in 2023. So I think that it will be officially, publicly published, will be accessible to you too, and you can find all practicalities concerning these calls. And so what I would like also to add regarding the calls is that there is the one which was closed, devoted to skills in semiconductors. It has relevance to the competence centers, which had to be settled within the EU, but also to other activities which are trying to establish some academic network and vocational training for semiconductors. So this is also call that we think that will be also published next year, as this topic is very crucial. It's one of the priority of the European Union. And last thing which I would like to add is if you search for information regarding Digital Euro program, is usually the best way to look at the European Commission web page, where you can find also participants for the funding vendors opportunities portal, and you can search all the calls regarding chips at this web page. There are also some questions and answers, of course, information and manuals how to fill the projects, and also there are other relevant information for you. And so I would like to thank you for attention, and I hope that this information was useful for you. Thank you.
So thank you. I'd like to make a short precision regarding the calls that you mentioned on the digital calls regarding the pilot lines. I explained in my presentation that these are mixed procurement and grants, and mixing both DEP and Horizon Europe. The way it works is that there is what we call an expression of interest call. And the expression of interest call asks for one proposal. And this one proposal describes, what you're going to procure, why you're going to procure it, how you're going to use it to develop certain things, etc. Okay? Now, this total proposal, which is, larger than the Horizon Europe, contains basically all the elements we will need in order to evaluate if you can have a pilot line or not. In other words, if we can select your project or not. And you will have to submit that proposal in 3 different portals. You will have to submit it as is shown here in the digital portal, but you will also have to submit it in the Horizon Europe portal, and you will also have it to submit it, what we call in circa BC, okay? But the same proposal, always the same document, of course. In the Digital Europe portal, you will have to fill in the part A. In the Horizon Europe, you will have to fill in the part A. In the circa BC, that's not needed. So again, it's a little more complicated than just, if you would, and by the way, the work plan specifies that you need to submit the same proposal in the 3 portals, otherwise your proposal is non-eligible. In other words, if you make a proposal just in the Digital Europe, forget it, you will never get anything there, okay? And I also would like to say that, again, these calls are fairly, how would I say, complex, and there are already, international consortium, international within Europe or European consortium, working on these proposals because of that complexity, right? So just as a precision, I also noted that in one of the previous speaker, and now that I have the mic, it's hard to, in one of the previous speaker, there was somebody mentioning pilot lines. So the Horizon Europe program, for example, has a number of other pilot lines. Now, these are not the same pilot lines we're talking here. We should actually give it another name, one or the other way, okay? The pilot lines we're talking in Horizon Europe in general are R&D pilot lines, are pilot lines, if you want, where you cannot buy equipment or in a very limited amount. So they're in general more for research purposes. And at the end, you have basically put something and show something, but no, there is in general not the requirement that what you do in that pilot line continues to exist after the end of the pilot line, okay? It's a grant, okay? You get money to do something. After 3 years, 4 years, you can continue or not, but basically that's not a prerequisite for getting the grant. It can be, if you calculate impact and things like that, but not. The pilot lines in the frame of the CHIPS joint undertaking are there to stay. In other words, they need to contain a business proposal, how they are going to continue to exist after the end of the grants and the procurements, and how they'll continue to evolve. Because obviously, Europe is not going to continue to pay for that, okay? Nevertheless, we'd like them to evolve. And so that's also, I think, a fairly fundamental difference between, the pilot lines that we discussed, that I discussed, and the pilot lines that were discussed afterwards. Thank you.